Jimmy Cliff is more than a reggae singer. He is a voice that carried the hopes, faith, and resilience of Jamaica far beyond its shores. From the earliest days of his career, his music spoke directly to ordinary people, those facing hardship, those searching for dignity, and those believing in a better tomorrow. Songs like Many Rivers to Cross and You Can Get It, If You Really Want were not just melodies, they were messages of endurance. Cliff's voice carried a rare mix of strength and vulnerability, making listeners feel seen and understood. Over decades, he became a bridge between local Jamaican culture and the global stage, introducing reggae as a language of freedom rather than fashion. His influence was never built on spectacle alone, but on sincerity, conviction, and a deep connection to the human spirit. Roots in Somerton, where the journey began. Born James Chambers in the small rural village of Somerton, Jamaica, Jimmy Cliff's beginnings were humble yet rich in rhythm. Life in Somerton was shaped by community, church music, and the steady pulse of everyday survival. As a child, he sang in church choirs and learned guitar using improvised materials, including bicycle brake wires. These early experiences shaped not only his musical style but his worldview. Music was never just entertainment. It was a form of expression, faith, and release. Even as a boy, Cliff showed an unusual determination to rise beyond his circumstances. Somerton gave him something no studio could ever replicate: authenticity. The simplicity of village life, combined with struggle and hope, became the emotional foundation of his songwriting and the moral compass that guided his career. Kingston Dreams and a Breakthrough Moment. At just 14, Jimmy Cliff left Somerton for Kingston, Jamaica's bustling cultural center. Life there was harsh, unpredictable, and far from glamorous. He sang in small bars and informal venues, often just to earn enough for food. Yet it was in Kingston that fate intervened. Music producer Leslie Kong discovered him and recorded Hurricane Hattie, a song that quickly gained popularity across Jamaica. The success was sudden but earned. Cliff's voice stood out, confident, youthful, and emotionally direct. Kingston tested his resilience while sharpening his ambition. These years were not only about success, but survival. Every performance strengthened his belief that music could change his life. That belief soon proved true as his songs began to travel beyond Jamaica's borders, giving reggae a global identity. During the 1960s and early 1970s, Jimmy Cliff emerged as one of the key figures shaping reggae's international identity. While reggae was rooted in Jamaican history, Cliff helped translate its spirit to the world. Songs like Wonderful World, Beautiful People carried optimism without losing cultural depth. His music reflected unity, hope, and pride in Jamaican identity during the country's post-independence era. Cliff did not simply perform reggae, he explained it through emotion. His lyrics were accessible but meaningful, allowing listeners from different cultures to connect. At a time when reggae was still misunderstood globally, Cliff's voice made it welcoming. He became a cultural ambassador, proving that music born from a small island could speak universally. The Harder They Come and Cultural Impact. The 1972 film The Harder They Come marked a defining moment in Jimmy Cliff's career. Starring in the lead role and performing the soundtrack, Cliff brought the realities of Jamaican life to international audiences. The film's story of struggle, ambition, and injustice resonated deeply, while its soundtrack introduced reggae to millions worldwide. Cliff's performance was raw and authentic, reflecting lived experience rather than fiction. The film did not romanticize hardship, it confronted it. Through this project, Cliff became the face of reggae's global breakthrough. He later said he wanted people not just to hear reggae, but to understand Jamaica. The success of the film permanently placed him in cultural history, beyond charts and awards. Fame, independence, and personal integrity. As his global recognition grew, Jimmy Cliff faced choices that tested his values. Offers from major record labels promised greater fame, but often at the cost of creative control. Cliff chose independence, believing authenticity mattered more than commercial success. This decision limited mainstream exposure at times, but preserved the soul of his music. He often spoke about music belonging to the people, not the market. That belief shaped his career and earned him respect across generations. Cliff's independence was not rebellion for its own sake, it was principle. He wanted his work to remain honest, spiritually grounded, and culturally faithful. In an industry driven by trends, he stood apart as an artist guided by conscience rather than pressure, silence, reflection, and inner struggles. Like many artists, Jimmy Cliff experienced periods of withdrawal and introspection. Fame brought expectations, scrutiny, and internal conflict. During the 1980s, he stepped back from public life, choosing solitude over constant performance. Friends later described these years as deeply reflective rather than absent. Cliff read, meditated, and reassessed his purpose. He openly acknowledged struggles with emotional exhaustion and creative pressure. This silence was not retreat, it was renewal. Rather than chasing relevance, he sought peace. These quieter years reshaped his understanding of success, helping him separate personal fulfillment from public applause. The silence allowed him to return later with greater clarity, humility, and depth. Faith, renewal, and a different kind of legacy. In the 1990s, Jimmy Cliff experienced a spiritual renewal that deeply influenced his later life. Faith became a source of grounding and perspective, guiding his choices both personally and artistically. Music transformed from ambition into service. He became involved in humanitarian work, cultural preservation, and global peace initiatives, including roles with international organizations. Cliff's public presence became quieter but more intentional. He spoke less, yet when he did, his words carried weight. His music evolved too, less rebellious, more reflective. Albums released in later years focused on forgiveness, aging, and inner peace. Critics describe this phase as the work of a survivor, an artist no longer chasing the spotlight, but sharing wisdom earned through experience. A return without noise. When Jimmy Cliff returned to recording and performing in later years, it was without spectacle. There was no need to prove anything. His album Rebirth was received as a deeply personal statement rather than a commercial comeback. Audiences heard maturity, acceptance, and calm strength in his voice. Cliff appeared selectively, choosing meaning over frequency. He lived simply in Jamaica, spending time with family and community. In rare interviews, he spoke gently, often emphasizing that reggae did not depend on his presence to survive. Music, he believed, outlives the musician. This quiet confidence reflected a man at peace with his journey, grateful, reflective, and unburdened by ego. Influence on generations of artists. Jimmy Cliff's influence extends far beyond his own recordings. Generations of Jamaican and international artists credit him as a foundational inspiration. He showed that reggae could carry political awareness, spiritual depth, and emotional honesty without losing accessibility. Younger musicians often cite his courage, independence, and integrity as guiding examples. His songs continue to be studied in schools, played on radio, and reinterpreted by new voices. Cliff planted seeds that continue to grow. His work helped shape reggae as a cultural force rather than a passing genre. Long after trends change, his message remains relevant: perseverance, dignity, and belief in oneself. An enduring spirit, still singing. Jimmy Cliff's legacy is not confined to any single era or achievement. It lives in the quiet moments when his songs play unexpectedly and still feel relevant. From Somerton to the world, his journey reflects resilience, faith, and artistic honesty. He proved that music could be both personal and universal, rooted yet expansive. Cliff's story is not one of constant triumph, but of endurance, crossing many rivers, facing silence, and returning with wisdom. His voice continues to echo, not because it demands attention, but because it speaks truth. As long as reggae lives, the spirit Jimmy Cliff helped shape will remain alive, steady, sincere, and deeply human.